Episode 1 of season 32, The Ultimate Fighter, is in the books, Theo. The teams are made. Team Grasso is filled up. Team Shevchenko is filled up. A decent first episode, I have to be said. Straight in, no messing around. Dana White giving the spiel at the start. Teams picked instantly. A little bit of background on both fighters, and then straight into the fight as well. Going from the very start, Dana White, it's a fairly tame speech in comparison. Do you want to be a fucking fighter, isn't it, Theo? It's not great, ain't it? Not? He's after getting soft in his old age, is he?
I mean, how many times can you try to top that speech over and over again? I thought it was
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
The episode, the pacing was the one thing I was concerned about. I thought it did move along pretty well. There wasn't a lot of filler there. Only got one fight, but that's to be expected anyways with this type of series. But yeah, I had no complaints in the first episode. I actually quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did as well. In terms of house drama, let's do a house drama rating every week for this one. House drama rating for here. Big fat zero has to be, doesn't it? Nothing happened. No house action at all. They hung up a few flags,
I
did a
like
bit
the
of this, did a bit of
flags.
that.
The
The
flags
flags
are
are
kind of
cool.
cool
Yeah.
because what do they say? They have 16 fighters, 14 countries overall. Like that is pretty significant. And I do like seeing the representation for everyone. And it's kind of cool. It is that melting pot in the house. But I did think it was weird that I couldn't remember who it actually was, but there were two fighters who were like drinking right away as soon as they got to the house. And then like the next scene is they're picking the fights. So I know
Oh,
that
I
they
didn't.
filmed some
I
of this
missed
stuff.
that eagle eye.
Oh yeah, they're having shots of some brown type of liquor. I don't know exactly what it was, but yeah, they were drinking right before they announced the fights. And obviously they shoot stuff out of
Probably some. It's
sequence.
probably some what you call it, Connor's whiskey there from last season. Maybe it
Proper
was left
12,
over in
yeah,
the.
just left over
Yeah,
in
they're
the
probably.
house. Could be,
Yeah, yeah.
you
Well,
know.
speaking of drinking, not much from Omran Shaban, not much from Paddy McCurry in episode 1, of course. Paddy did have that line. The Irish are known for drinking and fighting, and he's not much of a drinker. So yeah, good one there from Paddy. Um, not too much else from him or Shamran, like I said, throughout the episode as well. The teams were picked. It was Alexa Grasso that won the first pick, Theo, and she picked her team of flyweights: Marion Santos, Guilhermo Torres, Can Alfie, and Beksoid Usmanov for Team Grasso. For Team Shevchenko on the featherweight bracket, we got Edwin Cooper, Nathan Fletcher, familiar name for us, Roedie Roets, and Zamiskas Ramaska. In the middleweight category for Team Shevchenko, we have Johnny Bakar picked last. Picked last. Surprised to see him picked last. Cage Warriors, champion, coming in last. But hey, we've had a couple of last place picks go and win it before in the past, so that doesn't mean jack, to tell you the truth. Mark Hulme, Ryan Loader, and Simon. Simon, I'm gonna struggle with this name every week. Simon Khan Magomedov for Team Shevchenko. Team Grasso in the middleweight division, Robert Valentin, Omran Shaban, Paddy McCurry, and Tom Tiercaris. We get to see Omran and Paddy on the same team. No chance of those guys clashing unless they get to the latter stages of the competition. When you match up the two teams, Theo, what do you think? Who's the strongest?
Honestly, I thought they did a pretty good job of picking the teams even. I did enjoy the back and forth when Alexa kept on picking people that Valentina was going to. She picked the one teammate from Tiger Muay Thai and then the countryman as well right after it. So that there is a bit of back and forth with that. But no, I didn't really come out of this one saying, oh, that one team is way more talented than the other. Whereas opposed to like last season, I think people kind of like already were disinterested in the first episode of the Chandler Connor one because it felt like Chandler's team was just so much better. This one I feel has a decent balance to it, so I think it's going to make for some good entertainment here.
Yeah, absolutely. First pick for Garasso for the team, so that meant it was the first pick for the fight for Valentina Shevchenko. She went for Roedie Roets versus Guilhermo Torres. Roets obviously come fighting out of South Africa. Torres fighting out of Mexico. Torres, the oldest contestant in the house. Um, Roets picked number 1 or first pick, I believe, and I think Torres picked first pick on the other side as well, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
What did you think of the matchup when it was first called out?
I love that stuff. Pick 1 versus pick 2 right away just to start the season off with a bang. I love the idea of the matchup initially, and then, the way the fight played out as well was pretty entertaining as well. But, yeah, no, I love the idea of putting 1 versus 2 together just to start it off.
Big time. No dramas on the scales. Both came in at 145. Do you have to hit a clean 145, or can you get to the 146 in the Ultimate Fighter? I'm not quite sure, to tell
I
you the
think it's
truth.
146. I think they would give you some leniency, but,
Yeah,
they
I'd be
both hit
surprised.
145 here, though, did they not?
Yeah, 145 here, both of them. Yeah, championship weight for the two lads getting in there. Let's break down the fight. I'll give you a quick rundown, Theo, of round one. Early takedown from Rhodes. Torres sprung straight back up. This fight, you could see from a very early stage, was being fought at a serious clip. And it was a suplex during a scramble from Torres that had his back taken in the process. Took a couple of shots there. Um, got back to his feet. A couple of nice inside kicks by Torres upon his arrival, and Rhodes put him right back up against the cage. I think this was the stage of the fight where it kind of turned round one for Rhodes, and he felt that he had an advantage there up against the cage, really, Theo, didn't he? Kept going back to the knee. Knees up the middle were the story of this fight, I think, for the South African. And round one, definitely that work up against the cage did him a lot of favors in getting around. I scored it a 10-9. Easy, clear round for Roedie Roets.
Yeah, I had the exact same, honestly, and I think that the story of that round was Rhodes' ability to control him against the cage and do damage with those knees. Mixed in a couple of good punches to the head too, as well against the cage. But yeah, I thought that honestly, towards the end of the first round, I thought he looked a little bit tired, so I was worried he was going to fade. And then, of course, we see how round two goes as well when Torres gets his offense going with the kicks as well. A lot more of those in round two, a lot more effective with the jab. And he ended up turning it around for himself, and I thought he won the second round most clearly of any round of the fight. So yeah, I thought it was heading in a great direction. I wasn't convinced that Roedie was going to be able to pull it off towards the end. I thought he'd blown his wad a little bit too early, but it seemed that I was maybe proven a little bit wrong there, Ian.
Yeah, 100%. Just to go back, just a recap on round two. Torres obviously starting with a lot more urgency at the start of the round. Landed a huge suplex. Went to go to the suplex quite often. At this stage, I was kind of thinking to myself, these are a lot of explosive movements here from Torres. So, got the fight down, obviously, landed in half guard. Rhodes reversed with about 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go into the round, went into mount position, but was immediately reversed into the guard. I thought at that stage maybe Rhodes was going to maybe turn it around in round two. But Torres did land some damage from the guard on top. A good comeback round for him, 19-19, heading into the sudden death round in round three as well. So I think at that stage for me, I was thinking, who is going to want this more? Because two of them fought at a serious clip, and it was just going to be a grind for round three, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it turned out to be absolutely that. Torres kept doing great work with great leg kicks and body kicks to start the round. Roedie really sold out for a TD, for a takedown, I should say, at the start of this round. He didn't get it, but he ended up getting Torres against the cage eventually. Did some great work after that. It felt like he really got a second wind in this final round here as well, especially with 2 minutes to go. Like as soon as he got a little bit of success, it felt like he got some confidence and he just put his foot to the floor and just put it on him here. And I think honestly that was the biggest difference in this fight. I think that's the reason he won it at the end of the day, because I don't think he was the fresher fighter going into the last round, but he was the guy who wanted it more. So I think your assessment of that was accurate.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? I think what really paid dividends is some of those knees to the bodies as well that Roedie Roets kind of landed. He was landing up against the cage in round three, out in the open clinch as well, was landing those knees through the middle, and Torres didn't have an answer for them at all. Coming into this, you kind of assessed both of these guys quite well, if I do say so myself. With Torres, you said that he was reckless on the feet, and he was really reckless here as well. I thought at certain stages that Roedie Roets, you know, he was choosing to fight on the outside and landing the jab and landing a front kick and kind of controlling the distance a little bit, where I thought it might have been a little bit dangerous where he was initiating in some of the scrambles, some of the grappling kind of exchanges as well, because you're kind of going into Torres's world there when he wasn't really offering too much at all on the feet, really, was he, Theo?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit of an interesting decision, and maybe that is a product of being tired in that moment that where you just want to get the guy down, hold him there, maybe take a moment. But obviously, like even if you go through with that game plan, that's obviously going to take a lot out of your gas tank as well. So maybe they just wanted to mix it up there to sort of give him a different look. But you're absolutely right. Like he was constantly entering Torres's world, and towards the end of the round, Torres sold out completely for this leg lock that felt like a last ditch effort to try to get a finish before the scorecards got read out. Um, Unfortunately, didn't get it. Roedie got back on top, he advanced further, and just sort of wrote out the round from there. They did end the round back up on the feet eventually, exchanging some
Mm.
punches, which was great to watch. But
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it
it
was
was
a
a
great
little bit
fight
too
now.
little, too late.
Yeah, a little bit too little, too late. But look at the fight that was fought at savage pace. Very interesting scramble exchanges in it there. Obviously, not too much to write home about on the feet from. I like the minis down the middle from Roedie Roets, but like I mean, still, you said there is lots of uncertainty about his striking. I still think he can say that he was kind of landing one shot kind of strikes throughout the fight, and it'll be interesting to see how he does. When you've seen his performance in full, seen him in under a full 15 minutes, do you think were you impressed with what you seen? Did you notice any improvements from when you had studied tape, and how do you think he might do in the rest of the tournament?
Yeah, I think he is gonna do decently well to go forward here. I don't think he's gonna go incredibly late, to be honest with you. But I thought it was interesting the way that they assessed these guys, and they thought they were the clear number 1 and 2 in the featherweight division. But I honestly think that coming out of this for Roddy, it's a huge confidence builder to get the first one under the belt, especially in a fight where you face adversity in the second round, and it looked like the tides were going to turn against you real quick. So to already have that win under your belt against arguably the most experienced guy in the house, and going forward in the competition, I think that's going to pay huge dividends for him going forward.
Absolutely, you could see Valentina get Shevchenko getting animated in the corner there. You can tell she's going to be a competitive judge, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, what I thought was interesting too was at the beginning of the episode, Alexa mentioned how it was like her dream to be a coach. Like she's
Mm.
always wanted to be a coach. So I think they're both relishing this opportunity, and it's going to make for some great TV. And
It sure is. We're going to be locked in for the next 10 weeks. The teams are set. We'll come in. We might be in a bit of trouble if we get a fight, Theo, that's like maybe a 10-second knockout here for content if it was similar enough to this week, because it was like straight to business. Not too much else happened outside of the fight. But it was good to see a couple of familiar faces nonetheless, and no clues as to what the fight is next week. The story of this episode in the house was the flags. The story of this episode in the octagon was the knees from Roedie Roets. Any other takeaways here, Tio, before we wrap it up?
well, they did actually announce the next fight as well. It was
Oh,
right
shit, I
towards the
missed that.
end. Yeah, it's Magomedov versus Shaban. So
Oh
it's
shit,
going to
we
be
do
a
have
great
Amran
one.
Shaban up next.
Yeah, Shaban
Holy
is up
moly.
next year. So
I missed that at the very end. That is nice. So
So clear
we
your
have Amran
schedules.
Shaban.
This is what we like to call appointment viewing. This is going to be an incredible fight. I love the matchup for both of them. And yeah, please, if anyone knows anything, no spoilers.
No spoilers indeed. When you look at that fight for Amran Shaban, how do you see him faring out? How do you match up both these guys?
It's tough to say. I think we did talk about it earlier in the preview how Shaban does have a great ability to manage, the range in the fights as well, keep it at a kickboxing range. I think he's gonna obviously attempt to do that in this fight, but Magomedov's gonna have to close the distance and get down to the ground. I just think that Omran is technical enough and accurate enough of a sniper of a striker that he's gonna be able to catch Magomedov on the way in. And also, I don't believe that Magomedov's gonna be able to actually hold him down consistently. So I think he'll have to reattempt to get him to the ground over and over again. And the more times he has to do that, the more opportunities open up for Omran to actually land that strike on the way in. So I honestly think that although this is like the grappler versus striker matchup where typically you would favor the grappler, I think Omran is going to do wonders in this one.
Yeah, and Omran has pulled off a couple of submissions too, but I definitely agree with your assessment there as well. Look, it's going to be a tough fight. Former LFA champion coming in here, wicked grappler in that small cage as well. Omran does like to kind of use his footwork, use his movement to kind of get himself out of trouble in previous fights as well. So, won't have that much space in the smaller cage. So I'm very, very excited to see how that one goes down. We get to see Team KF's Omran Shaban next week on episode 2. We'll have plenty to unpack. We'll have plenty to break down. For Theo Lander, I've been Ian O'Neill. This has been the episode 1 recap of The Ultimate Fighter. We'll see you again next week for the full review of Omran's fight and the episode as well. Let's hope for a little bit more house drama. We need some house drama, Theo. I'm all about that drama. Take care.
We need a little bit more, yeah.